Hey, it's Tina Forsyth here. So what do you do when you're having some challenges with somebody in your team? When things just aren't getting done on time or they're dropping the ball and you're starting to wonder, is this fixable? Or is it maybe time to part ways? Is it maybe time to end the working relationship with that person? I want to share with you 3 steps that we look at when this scenario comes up. And it also involves what I call my 3 strikes rule. Step number 1, when you're having a challenge with a team member where stuff's just not getting done or balls are being dropped, is you need to look at the process before you look at the person. Now, here's what I mean by this. Sometimes the challenges are not about the person. It's about the fact that maybe they weren't clear on the deliverable. They weren't clear on what you wanted from them. They maybe weren't clear on the deadline. Maybe they weren't even given a deadline. Maybe it was an assumed deadline, and maybe they weren't clear on the steps, the actual process, the way that it needed to be done. Maybe they weren't clear on the template to be used to get it done in the way that you wanted it done. So this is all about process, and process is essentially where you're taking strategy and laying out the steps to get something done. And you might be amazed how often that process might be the issue before the person. So if you look at process, you look at the clarity of the request and the steps required to get it done. Ideally, you're building to a place where processes are documented for anyone on the team to hop in and do the work and get it done. When you look at that piece, and if there's issues there, start there. Look at the process before the person. Now, when the process is solid, then you want to look at taking a coaching approach with that person. So say they're perpetually late with deadlines. They keep, dropping the ball on things. Things aren't getting done. You want to, instead of going to that person and just saying to them, this needs to be done on time, that actually doesn't solve the problem. You want to take a coaching approach with your team members, and you really want to connect with them and be able to say, I'm noticing that things are late, and you and I have talked about this, things are late for you all the time. I just want to check in with you and see, what is it that you think is causing the issue here? And how would you like to solve it? Literally ask them the question and let them come up with the answer. There's a couple of things that are really beneficial here. First and foremost, it forces that person to stop and think and really take responsibility for the situation. So they might stop and think and say, so it could be as simple as, I wasn't clear on the deadlines. Okay, great. Well, let's talk about a way to make sure that deadlines are always clear. Okay, good. They might say, I have so many things on my plate and so many priorities, and I know I keep dropping the ball. Then you want to say to them, okay, great. Let's talk about your priorities. How can you manage this better? What do you need to support you there? Let them come to you with an answer. Likewise, when somebody comes up with their own solution, they are much more likely to follow it than they are any solution that you just impose on them. You want to be really aware that you're not jumping in and trying to solve it for them. Not to say you can't have a bit of conversation and give advice and back and forth, but the idea of the coaching approach is allowing that team member to be a part of the solution, to come up with the solution, and for them to personally own it, to have played a role in actually bringing that to life, as opposed to being told, do this way or else kind of thing, right? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at the end of the day. Now, last but not least is good old 3 strikes you're out rule. Because if you've looked at the process and the clarity and the expectations and all of that, if you've looked at taking a coaching approach and they've committed to, there's a challenge, here's what I want to do to solve it, etc. If there's still problems, kind of the idea of 3 strikes, if you still have the same problem ongoing 3 times, then that's where it may be time to look at ending the relationship. The fact of the matter is, if this person's not serving you in your business, then not only is that not serving you in your business, it's probably not serving them either. When things are off, when things aren't working together, it's a real drain on both sides of the coin. And one of the bigger mistakes I see people make in business sometimes is that we let it drag on too long. Instead of 3 strikes, maybe you're giving 18 strikes. And because you maybe like that person or you feel bad or whatever it is, I totally get it. It can be tough to end these working relationships sometimes. But at the end of the day, you're coming together for a reason, and it needs to serve all parties. And so I encourage you to explore this if and where you're having issues with your team. I'd love to hear about your experience with this or other things that you've used, other strategies or tactics you've used to connect with your team when you have issues and challenges. Of course, this is just part of business. It's part of working together. It's part of being connected and building strong team relations. So until next time, it's Tina Forsyth. Take care, everyone. Bye now.